thank you for being with us on these days. And Ukrainian Catholic University no needs to have your introduction to us, but nevertheless, our friends and our communities, so they really are inspired of your service. And you spent like 19 years at the president of the University of Notre Dame. That's one of the prominent universities in the United States. And that's quite challenging. So what were your primary expectations when you come to this position? How they changed through your guidance of this university, and what you face from different stakeholders for their opinions? How you managed them?
Let me first say it's running a university, particularly a University of Notre Dame's profile is demanding, and there are many pressures, and it's a very busy work. You're kind of working long hours, but it's a great privilege, and it's a wonderful privilege to teach young people. It's a wonderful privilege to engage the great issues of the day. So I always considered it a privilege to go into work. I think universities in the United States and perhaps in Ukraine too, I mean, there's a lot of divisions and tensions and controversies, and they tend to find their way to universities, and they tend to kind of become very public expressions of that disagreement at universities. So that was always a challenge. But I always thought, just to stay on the mission and keep going. I think that was the most important thing, and I learned as I went along. But in a sense, it was the simple task of staying on mission despite whatever controversies there are, whatever pressures come your way, to try to just keep doing what is the real core mission of the university.
I thank you for that. And actually, 19 years, that's a lot. And many of the universities globally, they were like putting their eye on the growth of Notre Dame with a number of different programs and different successes. So what are your accomplishments you're mostly proud of at the position that you had?
I feel the job was kind of try to keep the core elements of the university together at one. And while we tried to move forward, one area we had the opportunity to grow in was our research. That is the discoveries, the experiments, the books that our faculty write. And we made great progress there. I think we have excellent faculty. They work very hard. And so we made progress there. But at the same time, you can't lose sight of the educational role, to educate young people, that some institutions in the United States have emphasized research sometimes at the expense of educational mission, and faculty don't spend as much time with students, don't engage them as much. And so I'm proud that we have not done that there's still this commitment to the young people who study there. So I feel good about that. I think the third thing I'd say is, we are very different from similar universities in that, we have a faith-based mission, a set of values that we try to instill in our students, that we try to stand for. And that can be difficult, but I think, that's always a point of controversy, but I feel we've maintained that at the center. So I'm most proud that we've sort of kept those three parts of our mission in balance, and so tried to make progress on all of them. We were always strong on education, the undergraduate education, but we've made progress in research, graduate education. I think we haven't lost our sense of mission.
Yes, indeed. That remind me, Father John, like the words that Pope Francis wrote, like in the new edition of the Global Educational Compact, that after all, we will count not by our rankings, but the number of hearts that we influence to do some job. And that's indeed the clear mission of the Catholic University, like to combine like these three missions together, and take into account like your service as a priest there. So you notice the change. 19 years, that's a lot of change in terms of students, of new generations passed.
Yeah.
And can you please share your vision? So what are the main changes about like the first generation of students when you come into a position, and how they look now? So what are the main differences, and what, as the Catholic institution, we need to take into account and focus right now?
Mm-hmm. I think some of the changes are, but certainly social media has had an impact on how people relate to one another. Not always positive, to be honest, but it has had an impact, and some of it is positive. So that's a way student life has changed. I think, secondly, there is, among young people generally in the United States, a bit of a mental health crisis. There's sort of many more mental health issues, and I'm not sure if that's true in Ukraine, but it is in the United States, and so that's reality. Now, those are both negative things. I think that students, I think they're a little less trusting of institutions. That's not always bad, but that is the reality, and you have to deal with that. At the same time, I think with all those things, I think the students, by their nature, there's a certain hopefulness about them, a future orientation. Mm-hmm. There's a liveliness. And one of the things that Notre Dame does offer, and UCU offers as well, is that sense of community, which I think is an antidote to the isolation young people often feel. And once people get into that environment, they respond quite positively, and our students certainly have. They're very talented and hardworking young people, and will do great things, I'm certain of that. And I hope we can just add, as you said, that kind of dimension of the heart as well as the mind to help them grow as people.
Yeah, and the community building is really important for the Catholic institutions, but sometimes I feel, so there are like thousands and dozens of thousands of universities all over the world. There are like 2,050 and 500 Catholic institutions. And we did see that all these challenges that you, Father John, is talking about, that's definitely, this is not only challenges of the Catholic institution, mm-hmm. that we see it globally in different countries. And there are so few Catholic institutions. Yeah. And the community building is important for them. So is it an answer for other institutions? So what Catholic institutions can show to other universities? Are there any signs or advices that you see should be done by us, should be done by Catholic University to actually to not only to witness, but to get an answer to these students' needs? I'm
less optimistic that advice in itself will be heeded. What is people pay attention to is when you have success, and if your students have that sense of community and come away with it, people notice that and they want to imitate it. I was talking to a UCU student today, a fourth-year student, and I asked her, "What would you say? What was most important to you during your time here at UCU?" And she said the people mm-hmm. she met, the faculty who took care, cared for her learning, the friends, and that's a powerful thing. And I think, I think if people see that example, I think they see that they want to imitate that. And so I think that's the most powerful influence we can have now. I think we have an advantage, I really do. I think we have an advantage because we have a sort of moral framework that kind of shapes our efforts. And I think also a kind of, the kind of religious dimension. Some people are religious, some people aren't, but it does bring people together in a way that's very powerful. So I hope we can influence by example, but I think the best way to do that is just focus on what you're doing and try to do it in the best way you can.
Yeah, definitely. Leading by example, yes. That's important thing. And that's required responsible leadership. Yeah. That mm-hmm. requires ethical leadership.
Yeah.
You combined, like you were wearing two hats You were both priests and top manager of the institution. So can you share with us like this idea, how we can combine like these two heads together, how to be ethical and responsible leader of the Catholic institution that should serve an example?
I have always felt being a priest helped me, orient me. I never felt it was a different identity than present, because I felt that my job as a priest and as a president was to help people learn, discover the truth, to build bridges, to bring peace, to help people grow as human beings, to reconcile when that's needed, and try to inspire. So all those things are kind of priestly roles as well as presidential roles. And the great blessing I had was I was doing it at Catholic University, so I didn't feel any differentiation. So I do think the kind of a priest is you care for souls, and university presidents, you care for souls. You care for the souls of your students and your faculty and your staff. So it helped. I think being a priest helped me be a better president.
Indeed, it helps. And are there any idea that you actually was trying to implement while working as a priest and as a president, as a leader, but actually failed? So what is important for present Catholic university, for the modern Catholic university, to take into account, not to fail their mission and their ideas?
Are you asking me what I failed in?
Yeah,
my failures?
if you can share this.
I think you make mistakes of judgment. You're a public person as the head of an institution, and once or twice I've probably unintentionally got myself into situations that I shouldn't have been there, and there are TV cameras around, all that stuff, and so that's, it impacted the institution indirectly, but not so much directly. But as far as mistakes, certainly we made some mistakes. The most important decision you make is hiring people, and when you put a person in the wrong position where they can't be successful, that's a mistake, and I made those mistakes. But I do think if you lead worrying about mistakes, you'll probably be too cautious. You're going to make mistakes, and the key thing is when you make them, to recognize them, acknowledge them, and correct them. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely, and this is a true sign of leadership, to understand that you need to move still, you need to go somewhere. So take into account this profile and the mission of Notre Dame. It's not only mission that is shared within the United States, it's in the Catholic mission, it's a global mission. And within this global mission, Notre Dame is usually considered to be a global university. You have a number of gateways in different countries, you're doing a lot of international engagement. So what does it mean to be global Catholic institution? What does it mean personally for you?
Well, first thing I say, you do have an advantage in that being Catholic, because it's a universal, it impels one to be universal, to connect with the whole human family and all cultures, and so that's part of it. You have a network that's global. The Ukrainian Catholic University is on the other side of the world, but we kind of share this mission of being Catholic, so we're immediately connected, even though we're in different parts of the world. So that helps too. And I think it is this idea that you have various communities. You have your family, and you have your local community, and you have your country, and to not stop there, or your ethnic group, and to not stop there, but to see the whole world in a sense as a community which you interact, from which you learn, to which you should contribute. And so I think that's what I think of being a global Catholic university, to make that broad Catholic universal concern a part of our decision making, a part of our education, a part of our research, a part of just how we think about our work.
So it helps to concentrate not only on yourself,
Yeah.
but actually for others and
Yeah, for others
partnerships.
in the most radical sense of others, that the whole world, and not just you know, the country or the ethnic group or the, you know, whatever. I mean, I will say, you know, the challenge of a Catholic university, you know, sometimes religion can be a source of division and difference, and you know, you have to. But I think if you understand Catholic at a kind of, and I think Vatican II helped us to understand. Look, our job is to build bridges. Our job is to find connections, and then it helps bring people together, and that's what you have to emphasize, that finding connections and building bridges.
That's true. That's Fratelli Tutti.
Yes, that's right.
That's almost about
Pope Francis.
Pope Francis,
Yeah,
that we should
very much so.
About that. And that's bring the idea of partnerships. So partnerships are important, like within building these communities. And once again, take into account your experience. So how Catholic partnership in this secularized world actually help us, and what we can do together, what are the signs that we can do together, like to combat these challenges. I mean, both secularization, ecological changes, military conflicts, like any other traumas of the world that are located in the different countries.
Well, the possibilities are endless, and you just mentioned some of the most important ones. You can't solve the climate crisis individually or one country. You have to do it cooperatively, and you have to make connections to do that. But also, you know, we're such an interconnected world, and the conflict in Ukraine, the conflict in the Middle East touches everybody around the world, and so you can't solve, you know, the divisions in one place without addressing divisions in another place. So, you know, whether it's peace, whether it's economic inequities, whether it's social inequities, it just, everything, you almost can't solve anything on a nation alone basis. You have to solve them on a global, with a global framework, and that's, I think all those things are things we can work on as a global university.
Yeah, and that's important, like to involve students and to involve faculty members to that. And you know that Notre Dame is extremely successful in that terms, if it's successful is a good word for that, like to incorporate like this studying of the global traumas into curriculums and bring in different students together into this gaming. And actually let me touch also here what was new for me, for example, when I first came there and get acquainted how the international office, how ND Global is working, like it was like 2016, something like that. And I was impressed by these ideas of the gateways. So you try to build different gateways. And what was that idea about these gateways? Do you think that was like the instruments that linked the community society of ND with other nations? So what is in the essence of this gateway?
Well, the gateway idea was really an attempt by our first Vice President for Internationalization, Nick Intrigan, to make concrete and practical this aspiration to be global, because the world's a big place. You can't do everything at once. No. So what we tried to do is identify certain key areas around the world where we have a presence, and that whether it's an office or a person, and that person would have two roles. One is to kind of make that country or that culture accessible to Notre Dame, to let our students study there or our faculty make connections there. So make it accessible to Notre Dame, but also make Notre Dame known to the people there, because Notre Dame is a very well-known university in the United States. It's not as well known in some parts of the world, and so people just don't know about us. And so how can we raise the awareness of Notre Dame? And that was another job of our gateways, to kind of try to tell the story of Notre Dame and make people aware, so that the ultimate consequence is, you know, you build connections with universities, with individuals, with companies, and thereby, you know, you have this network that allows you to be more genuinely global and not just talk about it.
Yeah, sure. And eventually come from the ivory tower.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
usually
that's
universities
right.
come to real life in that sense.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you here for your support for Ukraine, because we definitely see how important it was, not only for the community of Ukrainian Catholic University, but for public at large, for all Ukrainians, when you were doing impressive steps showing what was going on at the start of the full-scale Russian invasion. So, and we do appreciate all these deeds that you made, both symbolic investment into our collaboration, and this network of solidarity that you show is a primary case that helps us to understand that we are not alone. And I think this is a true sign of this Catholic friendship and connectivity, what we are talking about. Now Notre Dame is also opening Ukrainian hub for that story, and definitely that's important for Ukrainians to know that we are a country that need to be studied and also need to be brought to the global agenda. And within all these buildings and of different institutions and different links with the different global partners, actually I know that the Central European context was sometimes excluded from the vision, not just probably not excluded, but not present. So is there interest right now at the Notre Dame in Central Eastern Europe? So what were your observations?
Well, I would say it started out, I knew Archbishop Boris, and we had a connection a bit. And then when the invasion happened, we just felt, we should respond to this aggression and help these people who have been invaded, and what can we do? And so we had Ukrainian students and faculty to Notre Dame, and that was initially a sense of, let's help our friends, let's help our fellow Catholic University. But actually, I think it's evolved so that now I think it allowed us to understand the complexities of Central Europe and of Ukraine in particular, and have a better understanding and open up possibilities for research, open up a different way to teach the history and culture of this part of the world that weren't present beforehand. So it's a nice lesson in that you go to do something for others, but the relationship enriches your life and makes you understand the world better and creates relationships that are fruitful. So I think that's very much the story of our interaction with UCU and with Ukraine. We tried to help, and we found we were helped by the relationships we formed.
Thank you once again for that. But it was not built like from the scratch. So we enjoyed a long-lasting relations with the Dynamic Institute for European Affairs. So to some extent, people were prepared, like to have to act. And when the need comes, so we see who is our friend, so to help us in this need. So finalizing our discussion in that sense, I would like to focus probably on this partnership building, and that definitely takes time. So Catholic identity helps a lot. Common challenges helps a lot in brackets to some extent, because we all meet them. And the missions of Catholic institution and the Catholic education that is focusing like the traumas of society also helps a lot in that way. So what should we do like as a Catholic institutions to inspire our students and faculty members to follow this story? Because sometimes we see that this connections with the research or connections with the students, simply they're connections, they're not like the powerful ties. So how we can inspire and what we can do in this globalized world, I mean, not only between Notre Dame and UCU, but with other institutions. So we really build the long-lasting networks, and we enrich them with the clear mission of the Catholic education.
I wish I had a better answer. I don't have, but I actually think the fruits of the relationship between UCU and Notre Dame have been really positive and valuable. I know for Notre Dame, I hope for UCU as well. And so I guess I would say let's keep doing what we're doing. And none of us could have envisioned when I came here, I think in 2019, that there'd be this invasion and there'd be this different situation that we had to respond to. But it happened, and we responded to it. And you don't know what the next 10 years are going to be, but if you have the connections and the relationships, you can work together toward building a better future and reaping more benefits from the relationship, even more than we already have. So I hope we can just continue doing what we're doing. I can't think of a more concrete answer than that, but I think I'm very proud of what's been accomplished, and I hope it simply can continue.
Indeed it was. So let's continue with what we had and even build more. And to finish our story and to finish our discussion, what former presidents do? So what are the plans that you have? Can you share with us a little bit what you want to concentrate right now after so many years of your service?
Well, I look forward. I got into university work to do teaching and writing and kind of intellectual life, and I look forward to getting back to that. I look forward to getting back to teaching. I look forward to getting back to writing. There may be other things that come up. Someone told me, don't, when you step down for the job, don't make commitments right away, because there may be a better opportunity down the line. So I'm kind of being a little cautious in that and slow, so I could kind of think about this. But I definitely want to get back to teaching and writing and really the intellectual dialogue that's the heart of a university, which is the reason I got into this in the first place. And being in administration, it takes you away from that a little bit. So I look forward to getting back to it.
Okay, that's a dream of every administrator.
That's right.
So let's dream big in that sense. So Father John, thank you so much once again for coming to Ukraine, for being with us. Thank you for your readiness to accept our Doctor Honoris Causa. And thank you for all the support that you personally and Notre Dame showed. This is indeed a great sign of the friendship that we had, and I do believe that our communities will build even more better in the next years. And I should thank you and Ukrainian Catholic University for the great honor of the honorary doctorate, but also for the friendship, and I'm sure they'll continue into the future. Thank you.